Greetings and welcome to another installment from the Patchwork Productionz Learn to Crochet for Beginners series. In this video, we will learn how to make a floor mat. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Stitch, and Patchwork Productionz is all about learning and doing crochet. So make sure you subscribe so you never miss another installment. Without further ado, let's get started. So, in this video, I'm going to attempt to make a floor mat with some t-shirt yarn that I made in a previous video, and I'm sure I'm going to need a lot more than this, but this is what I have to start with. And in addition to trying to make a floor mat, I will be showing you how you can do a rectangle in doubles. Double crochets. It's not quite working in the round, but you can make these rectangles. It's sort of pseudo working in the round. Now I have two hooks here that I'm going to be using because this is like technically a weight 5 maybe 6 yarn. Not quite jumbo, which would be 7, but it's a high weight yarn. And so I have two hooks here that you can use. I'm going to be using this hook, which if you can see that, it's a L hook, which is an L11, which is an 8mm hook. Okay, I think I got that right. You can barely read it on there. And then I have this one here, which is a K10.5, which is a 6.5mm hook. So I'm going to be using this one, the L11 hook, but if you don't have one of these hooks, you can use a K10.5, just do your stitches very loose. In the case of the floor mat, it may just be a little smaller, which isn't too bad. It's not supposed to be anything huge. But yes, I'm going to be using this one though. So for this rectangle that we're making, in one of my previous videos where I went into shaping, what I called it, in crochet, where you can use different techniques to create different shapes, including increasing different places, decreasing in other places, different ways you can do stuff round row. I showed a way that you can make an oval in technically the row, which is kind of weird, but it was just making a long chain and then just going back over that chain. So it was kind of a hybrid between working in the row and working in the round. Well, this rectangle is made in a similar way and takes different ideas from that, and also what we do when we're adding corners to things like our granny square and other shapes that I may have gone into. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to start by making a very long chain, because this is supposed to be a floor mat. There's a pattern to this, but it starts with this rectangle in double crochets. So I'm going to do probably, I'll see if I start with 20 or 30. I might end up doing 30. We'll see. Something to keep in mind, I'm noticing with this t-shirt yarn, is that it stretches very well, which means when you go to make your loop, your chains and stitches larger, you have to actually ensure that you're pulling the yarn and not stretching it, because then you'll end up with small stitches. So do keep that in mind when you're using t-shirt yarn. This stuff can stretch very well. It's a pro and a con. So yeah, let me go ahead and finish making these chains here. Alright, so I have my chain, and this stuff is very elastic. You can make a pretty strong rope with this if I think so. But basically I have 35 chains here. Which I'll just count to be sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 33, 34, 35. Good. So I have 35 stitches here, and the reason I have 35 instead of 30 is because I kind of just got ahead of myself, and I decided to leave them there because I actually need them, the extra 5, for the rest of the pattern. So basically you have your base number of chains, and then you add 5 as sort of a turning chain. It begins your double crochet and 2 chains for a corner, very similar to what we do when we're dealing with granny squares and we have that chain 2 to make a corner. Yeah, very similar thing, but I have the extra 3 chains here as well. So now to proceed with making the rectangle, we're going to begin round 1, because technically we're just going to go around, so it's going to be a round, even though it sort of acts like you're working in the row, which is very, very interesting. Hybrid crochet, I can call it. But we're going to work in the 6th chain from the hook. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're going to work into this chain, the 6th chain from the hook, and we're going to work 2 double crochets into it. And because we're going to be going around this, I would suggest that you work into the back loop only, so that when you come around to the other side, you can work in the front loop, and, well, yeah. Or you can just work into this back hump like we normally do, and then just go into 2 loops when we do the other side, which I may end up, let me see which one I'd like better. I don't know. I'm just going to go into the back loop only for now and see how that works. So yes, 2 double crochets into the 6th chain from the hook. Again, beware, this stuff stretches, so make sure you're actually picking up yarn and not just stretching it, or it will shrink quite a bit. And it may pose to be hard to work with. Okay, let's see if I can actually make a double crochet again. There we go. Okay, yeah, this stuff is very, very interesting to work with. So here, this is what we have it looking like right now. And now we're going to continue across the rest of the stitches until the last chains here, basically. And we're just going to do double crochets in each of them. So I'll go ahead and do this, and we'll see where we stop at the end. Okay, so that actually took a while. But this is what we have so far. I'll just show you. And again, this stuff is really, really cool. I'm gonna like this t-shirt yarn stuff. But basically, we have finished just before doing the last chain right here. We haven't done that last one because there's a set of double crochets we need to put into it. So firstly, we are going to do 2 double crochets, then we're going to chain 2, then we're going to do 3 double crochets, then we're going to chain 2, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets. So a lot of stitches are going into this one chain right here. So let's do this. We're going to do 2 double crochets, there, 1 and 2, alright, we're going to chain 2. I can see I'm going to be struggling here. Oh boy. We're going to do 3 double crochets. Let's see if I can get them in. That's in my way. One. Let's pull this over there. 2. Wait. There we go. And now I'm actually gonna go for this 3rd double crochet that I'm supposed to be doing here. I'm just gonna start in that other loop from that chain, so that I can balance out the stitches. It's a little hard because it's an odd number, but you know, because the other 2 double crochets will be worked on this side. So oops, I need to loop and okay, 3. So that's the 3 double crochets I'm supposed to be doing. And then you chain 2. Oh man, this is intense. Alright. And now we're going to do 2 double crochets on the other side. Oh wow. Okay, that was a lot. But yeah, there. So that makes our corners. This makes our flat face right there. And then we have these 2. So we have 2 double crochets, and it's all into this one final chain right here. So we have 2 double crochets, 2 chain 2, or 2 chains. That makes more sense. 2 chains, 3 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets. That's how we make this side. And then you just go back across most of this with double crochets again. So you can call this the other side where you had those other loops that we left. And you got to be careful. So this is one stitch, and then this is another. Don't get confused by this cross point in the middle. Let me see if I can show you up close here. This right here is a loop, but don't work into here. So this one you work into, and then this one you work into, and then this one you work into. So don't get confused by these middle pieces in there. And you're just gonna work all of them along, and then you're just gonna work until some point. So basically you're going to work all the way up to the stitch that has the chain that has 2 double crochets in it. Yeah. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Okay, so I'm at the end. That there's this last stitch that has to be worked into that had 2 double crochets already worked into it, and that's where we want to stop this because we have something to work into here. Now I was observing this and making sure I was in the right place. It may prove beneficial to do this by working in the back hump and then coming back through the 2 loops, because it will be easier to tell which stitches are which. But if you look carefully, this here is the chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this, I believe, if I'm doing this correctly, is actually the loop that you need to stop before, not this one, because this is a part of that chain. So that would make the back hump instead. So if you follow me here, then hopefully you understand. But yes, into this loop here, this last one, we are going to work 2 double crochets, 2 chains, and 2 double crochets, all into this stitch right here. So we have 2 double crochets, two chains, and then 2 double crochets once again, and I think I got this right. Let's pull that up, and now into the top of this chain 3 that's here. So this is a chain 5, but we want to make a slip stitch into the top of the 3rd chain. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 5, so that 3, that's where we're going to want to put our slip stitch. Let's work that in there. So as you can see, that 3 of the chain 3 is acting as a double crochet, just like we had 3 double crochets on this side. And so this is what we have. Now I'm noticing this piece that's here. What I may, depends. What I may want to do is I'm going to undo this and actually pick up that loop with it, just for aesthetic reasons, because it kind of just is there. I don't know if you know what I mean. So let's do this again and just pick up that loop with it. Yeah, it's a part of that chain, but it will be hopefully okay. Well, there you have it. I guess that side's just going to be larger, which I guess that will be okay. And so this is what we have to start. Now as I look at this, I probably decide, I probably should have done this shorter, but it's not a big deal, because as you add the extra rounds, each face of the rectangle will grow, but at a different proportion. So as we make this rectangle, it will appear as though the length is increasing faster than the width, just because of the dynamics of everything. But we'll be fine. So basically, this is how you go about doing a rectangle with double crochets. And the way you continue this is very similar to the granny square. So basically, you just do double crochets all the way across until you get to the chain 2s, in which case you work 4 double crochets into the chain 2 space, 2 here, 2 there. You work your double crochets across these, and then the same thing, go all the way back, get to here, and every time you come to a starting point, so like here, the way we begin the next round is we would chain 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the chain 3 is the stitches that you need for here, and the chain 2 is your corner. So in this case, this chain 3 is going to act as one of your chains in the chain 2 space. So, I mean, it's a little awkward, but that's kind of how it is. And then you work the rest of your stitches around. So I'll go ahead and finish the other rounds. I'll probably do 2 more, I think. And I'm probably going to run out of t-shirt yarn, but I have some more. I have some here, and you got to keep making some more. And then we'll move on, because there is a pattern to this. This is just the beginning of it. Remember, it's a floor mat. So yes, I'll go ahead and do that and meet you when I finish the other rounds. So quick correction. I did say that you start the rounds with chain 5. You need to slip stitch into the next chain first. So you have the slip stitch to join to that chain 5, the third chain of the chain 5. And then you're going to do a slip stitch into the next chain, which is the first chain of your chain 2 corner. And then you're going to do your chain 5. Because as I did say before, these 3 chains of your chain 5 is going to count as one of the double crochets that would be worked into the corner. So then you would work 2 double crochets into the corner here, and then when you come all the way back around, you would work a double crochet and then join, so that you'd have your 4 double crochets in this corner with your chain 2 to make the new corner. So that's how you're always going to do it. I'll probably go over this again when I finish making the rest of this. Okay, so I have made, or almost finished making, six rounds here. And as you can see, this isn't too big, and I actually don't plan on making this very big. Of course, you can make it as big as you'd like. I'm not going to make it too big because, number one, to be honest, it is quite a bit of work. And in addition to that, I just don't have that many t-shirts, so I have to limit how many rounds I do. But this is just supposed to be a small, simple thing. It's not supposed to be too extravagant. Again, you can make it as big as you want. As a quick reminder here, I'm about to finish the 6th round here. So I have 2 stitches left before the slip stitch. So to finish a round, you're just going to first do that last stitch I have to do here, which we're gonna do. And then here we have this slip stitch and then our chain 5. So this was the slip stitch that we made onto the chain 2 before doing the next piece, which I'll show you in a second. But what you're going to want to do is just double crochet into the hole. So your last double crochet is always going to be in the little corner space, not into an actual stitch. So I'm going to make the double crochet, and then we're going to join to the top of the 3rd chain. So we have 5 chains here. Don't know if you can see these, but there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So we're going to join to the top of the 3rd chain. And I'm just going to try to get under both loops. There we go. And we're going to join with a slip stitch. And so then to move on to another round, all you would do is, this is the 2 chains for the corner. You would slip stitch into the 2nd chain, and then you would chain 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You would do 2 double crochets in the chain space and proceed as normal. Of course, I'm not going to be making another round quite like this. I'm going to be doing another kind of round, because this is supposed to be a sort of a design in the mat. Not really, it's pretty basic. More so to show you how you can use t-shirt yarn and also do rectangles in the round. But there will be a slight, difference. It won't just be this the whole way. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to leave that slip stitch in the second chain. I'm going to leave that, and I am going to still do, technically, after all that, still going to do a chain of 5, just to keep this piece consistent at least. After I said, oh, I'm not going to do the same thing. No, it does get different. So let's just go ahead and do 2 double crochets into here. Believe me, it's not the same as what we've been doing. Just, you gotta trust me. And once we have these 2 double crochets, so this also means we're most likely going to end each round the same way. But we're going to do this kind of like what we do with the granny square. Not quite, but kind of. The difference is that instead of doing a chain of 3, we're going to do a chain of 2, because I expect it will be far easier to do a chain of 2. I mean, 2 double crochets, not a chain of 2. 2 double crochets. Because in the granny square, you do 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets, chain 1. You get to the corner, 3 double crochets, chain 2, 3 double. Yeah, well, I'm going to do 2 double crochets instead. I feel like that will be easier since we're working with a thicker yarn. And in my case, my stitches are still tight. So yeah, I'm going to chain 1 from here, and we're going to skip this stitch. That's what the chain 1 is for. And instead we're going to work into the next stitch. So we're doing this just like the granny square, except we're only going to work 2 double crochets. So we're going to do 1, and we're going to do 2. And so that's what we have. You see, we did a chain 1, skipped that first stitch, and then we did 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So we're going to chain 1 here, going to skip this stitch, because that's what the chain 1 is for. It's to replace that stitch. And we're going to do 2 double crochets into the next stitch. So not the one right next to the one you worked into, but the next one. We're going to go into that, work 2 double crochets, 1, 2, and so again, you can see we did a chain 1, skipped that one, worked into this one with 2 double crochets. And so we're just going to keep doing this all the way around, and I intend on doing probably 2 or 3. I may only do 2, or maybe I'll end up doing 4, but just a couple rounds of this. I'll start with 2 and see if that's good enough. Like always, this is fully customizable to whatever you want, so if you want it larger, you just have to, well, make more rounds, and you will get it larger. If you want it smaller, you do less rounds. Whatever suits your fancy. For me, I'm just doing a demonstration, using up some t-shirt yarn that I have, and trying to make something useful. So I'm not going to make it too big, because I only have but so much resources and time. But yeah, I'll go ahead and do this all the way around. The corners are basically just worked like the granny square corners, or like the way you've been working these corners, only that, well, actually no, it's exactly the way you've been working these corners. 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 double crochets into the corners, and then the pattern proceeds as normal. Always go into and come out of a corner with a chain 1. So you're going to chain 1, then do 2 double crochets, chain 2, do double crochets, chain 1, and continue. I believe that's what is going to happen. You should have the right amount of stitches in here from at least this round, from 6 rounds to do that. So yes, I shall attempt to finish this, and then we will be able to see this when it's a little bigger, and also when it has this little, I guess you can call it a pattern in it. I don't know if anyone's going to tell, but yeah. So, this is actually a little disappointing. Kind of funny for me to say now. I'm pretty mad with myself, and I'll explain why. So I only ended up doing 1 extra round with this pattern, which of course, you can hardly tell that there's a pattern, but that's fine by me. What's not fine is what you're about to find out. I only did 1 round, not because I didn't have enough yarn or t-shirts, because I actually have a little bit more yarn here. I didn't tie it off. I mean, I didn't cut it off. And I have some more t-shirts to make more yarn. The problem was my pattern. So remember, I told you guys to do this pattern, and before and after each corner, you were gonna chain 1, right? Yeah, so I'm crocheting, and this pattern works quite fine. I thought I counted the stitches. I didn't count properly. So the pattern worked from the first corner I did, this corner, next corner. I mean, it was just working. Actually, it would be this corner back here, this corner over here, this corner over here. It worked. Then I got to this corner, and I was like, what is wrong? Like, I had 1 extra stitch. As you can see, I decided to leave it, and I'll explain why. So I'm like, why is there an extra stitch? So I'm counting, and I just open this and look, and let me just say, if you guys see the issue when I show you, I'm going to put it close to the camera in the hopes that the area where the problem is, if you can immediately see the issue, just let me know in the comments. I kind of feel so stupid. I don't know how I missed this, but I'm just going to hold this up. Tell me you see it. Tell me you see it. Like, I'm just so upset. So as you can see right here, I literally missed a stitch, and it's all the way at the first round we did. Like, I literally missed an entire stitch. I don't know how that happened. I didn't even notice it. And because my pattern got all warped, because now this side, if my theory on how I missed this and where everything happened is correct, because everything else worked, but I suspect that this side ended up with one extra stitch because, well, this has one less. So in counting terms, this has one more, this one has one less. And so the pattern surprisingly worked, except for here, because now I have this extra stitch that's unaccounted for. Yeah, and I decided I didn't want to try to modify I didn't want to undo this whole thing and redo it, because I actually learned that working with t-shirt yarn is actually a little trickier than I expected. So there's a note for you. Although it's very, very nice material. I actually like this kind of material, especially for a rug, and people use it for like baskets and stuff. But yeah, and I didn't want to modify the pattern to make it work around the rest of it to continue, so I just decided to stop. So just as a little disclaimer, if you find that you were doing the pattern and it ended up differently from mine, yeah, you probably know why. Because I made a mistake. I'm so mad. But you know, it's things like these that help you see that these sort of mistakes can happen. And it's because I didn't properly count my stitches as I was going on. I kind of took it for granted. So here's a little lesson for you from my mistake. Um, don't don't forget to count. Counting stitches is actually a very, very important thing in crochet. It You can kind of overlook it because it's like, I'm following the pattern, but mistakes happen. Who knows what you were thinking about at the time, or what you heard, or what you had to stop to do that you forgot. I don't know what happened here that I forgot. So yeah, this is going to be the end of my mat. Of course, the principles for how to make a rectangle with double crochets, so you can make a mat of any size that you want, and hopefully you don't make the same mistake I made, and you can just keep growing this as large as you'd want. Again, I really do actually like how this turned out in terms of, its strength. It's barely stretchy, pretty like heavy duty feeling. Like it has like mass to it. Like it's just there. And I mean, I only have it in all white, which is a little plain. If I had different colored t-shirts, I could have made this all sorts of colors. Maybe I could dye it, but there's a lot of things you can do with this. But just as a warning, because you may experience this stuff can actually be a little tricky to work with, and there's a lot of extra work in making the t-shirt yarn. I probably will make more and probably make a basket with it and see how that is. But for now, this mat is as far as I'm willing to go for the moment. So yeah, now you know how to make a rag, or I should say a mat, with t-shirt yarn that looks rectangular. And you also know a mistake not to make, which is completely skip a stitch and fail to recognize it. So yeah, I really don't know what more there is to say, except feel free to explore with making rectangles and see what other things aside from mats you can come up with. And if you have any ideas for t-shirt yarn that you want me to do in the future, because I'm willing to do it, just let me know in the comment section, and we can see what other things we can make with this stuff. So for now, that will basically be all for this video. Thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed this tutorial and want to learn more about crochet, be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. Don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up, and also share this video with your friends and family or on social media. And feel free to leave a comment down below. If you have any questions or suggestions or any feedback, I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, catch you later.